Anna decided to pass, but she has a lot of great stories. I think all the stories that I'll tell will be her stories or her dad's stories. So yeah, I'll get to the Albanian history at Joe's request in a second, and then I hadn't actually planned this morning on doing a presentation. I was planning on sharing something from the Word. But I do want to thank all of you for praying for us, especially during this last year. It was a difficult year for us as a family, for me personally. It was difficult for the country. And I'm sure that you've probably found yourself saying this and heard others say that it's been a unique time where all throughout the world we've shared the same struggle of having people that we saw all the time, that were healthy, all of a sudden get sick, and then getting to notice that some of them survived, some of them didn't. And so thank you for praying for us. Thank you for generously giving to us. Anytime someone comes to Christ, or anytime I'm in a group or meeting individually with other guys, most of whom are younger than me, some are older, and God is at work. Northern Hills is a part of that. Yeah, I remember the first time that I left and went to Albania, hugging people here, saying goodbye, and it was a hard goodbye. I think somebody just quoted to me yesterday or 2 days ago that life is a series of goodbyes, and each one involves the grief and sadness that you'll be away from those people for a while. And it's good to be back, and it's good to be with all of you here. So getting on to the history of Albania, and the last time that I found out I was going to say something about 5 minutes before I went up there was when we had the board of the International Christian School there put on a celebration for the teachers to thank them. They did a tremendous job this year and just stayed very engaged with the kids, were very creative. And the last thing I had heard was that we were going to come up and each person could either tell a joke or sing a song or do something like that. And then all of a sudden someone came over, Ben and I were actually off to the side and said, "Hey Josh, it's your turn to speak." And I had no idea I was going to say anything, and ended up telling a high school basketball story. I don't know what the connection was, but it kind of happens for me, when I don't have the chance to thank. So anyway, before 2001, when I arrived in Albania, I was thinking of telling a couple stories. One was, maybe two from Bona's dad, and then another from Bona's life. So, yeah, I remember Bona's dad telling me stories. His father had spent time as basically a medic for people in the military, and when they would be in the town near Tirana that Bona's from, he, with his father, or sometimes people in that town would ask about, "Oh, you're this person's father," and a lot of times people would come up to his father or to him and say, thank you for when I got injured, that you were there, you were the one that cared for me," or "Thank you, I remember your dad helping me out when I was injured in the military." And Bona was actually just telling me a few weeks ago how much he remembers in communism, not having much, but going over to this grandfather's house, and how he would always give them some money, about 5 cents, to go buy ice cream, or if he didn't have it on him, he would get it from some friends that were sitting there, so that she and her sister could get an ice cream or something sweet. And yeah, so it was a time where the family was very close together all throughout Albania. And the family structure is still largely intact there in Albania. And then the other thing that came to my mind, this is actually towards the end of communism, when I remember Bona's dad telling me when the former dictator in North Korea died, that he said that it was just like that in Albania. He said that, I mean, the people's faces obviously look different because they're from a different part of the world, but in one sense, he said it's the same face and the same like forced sorrow. You can just feel it in people that everyone has to be sad. And Bona said that when the dictator died, the teacher came in and told them that they all had to cry, and they really didn't even understand why, but they knew that they had to do it. And I heard from other people that when there were people that weren't crying or that didn't seem like they were sad enough, or that too quickly after that period broke the time of sadness with going back to a joke or something like that, they were immediately looked on with suspicion of like, are you a traitor, or why aren't you still sad about this? So I think those two things were very much a part of Albania at that time, both really close family structure, people spending a lot of time together, and then the strong control of the government. So yeah, for more, you can stay tuned and talk with Bona if you want more stories. So yeah, I have a couple things that I wanted to say before we open up the Word together. And I started handing out a little bit of paper. I know that the kids are still in here as well. So this is for the kids, but it's for anybody who's here. In a minute, I'm going to invite you to write down 3 words that describe where you're at in this moment. And so if you don't have paper and want to do that, you can. Or if you have your own paper, you can. Can I have a couple volunteers from our extended family plus Jack to hand these out? All right, Nate's taking Ben's, and you guys want to hand out the pencils too?
Oh, we're good.
Okay, Logan wants to. Okay. There's some others too. I think I had some more pencils right here if other people want them. There's that there. So, yeah, I want to invite you to write down 3 words that describe where you're at this point. It can be where you're at this point after the long extended year of the pandemic. It can be where you're at this point following the last meeting. It can be where you're at this point with whatever is going on in your life. I've been away for a while, and so I don't know a lot of what's going on in each of your lives, but 3 words that describe where you're at. I'll give everyone a minute to do that, and then we'll go on. Can I get it? Okay. Okay, so yeah, the three words that I put down are sad, curious, and hope. There's been a lot of sadness. I'm curious, wondering what God will do, and hope. I think that hope is most precious in the times where it seems most bleak and dark, when you're in the promise, when you're seeing it realized. It's not hope anymore, it's the joy of having something you've anticipated. But when it's bleak and dark, hope is very much something to hold on to. So a few things before we open up the word together, and then it will be brief. I guess I wanted to affirm a few things. All of us process life, struggle, suffering, difficult news in different ways. So if you are shocked at this point, if you're angry, that's okay. That's where I was with the news of Carolyn's death for a few days. I remember just thinking, man, it shouldn't have ended this way. I remember seeing her post on Facebook, and was not okay. Maybe I'm still not okay with that. Some of us have been taught to always have a smile on our face, and sometimes some of us have to give ourselves the permission to not be okay. I want to affirm people who are choosing to process all of this that's going on by talking to someone they can trust, to affirm those that are processing, who do that in silence, alone, getting away from everything. To affirm those of you that recognize a strong need to care for yourselves and for your body. Some of us may, after today, have to go out on a run or a bike ride and then circle back and check in and say, okay, what would my three words be now? How am I doing at this point? For others, it may be writing and journaling is a way that you process. During the pandemic this past year, there was a lot of intensity for us. And I used to go on bike rides once a week or once every 2 weeks, and I started trying to get out to a lake near our house every day, just to sit there by the lake, write, talk to God, and reflect. For some of us, it's really hard to stop, to slow down, to grieve, to let ourselves experience sadness. For most of my life and much of my adult life, my go-to strategy was to fight back the tears and then get busy doing something that I thought God wanted me to do. And one of the things that I'm grateful for over the last few years is to be able to respond to God's invitation to pour out my heart. It's not always easy for everyone in our family to see me this way. So today I want to invite you to pour out your hearts to God, and I want to offer a word of hope. There's hope for each of us who are here this morning. There's hope for those of us that are struggling. Hope for those of us that are struggling in our marriage. Hope for those of us that are struggling with depression, with anxiety. Hope for those that are struggling with bitterness and can't or haven't yet been able to forgive. There's hope for each family that's here today. There's hope for this group as a body, as a community of believers. And I want us to read a story that I believe offers hope to all of us, regardless of where we're at. And the context of this story is people, and you may find yourself in one of these two groups, people that are there pointing the finger and saying, how could they do that? How could he do that? Why don't you? And then others that are people that feel awful about themselves. So let's open our Bibles to Luke chapter 13. And we are going to read a familiar story. I didn't realize this over the last 2 days as I changed the direction for what I'd planned to do this morning, that this is what we'd read last time when I was here. It reminded me of Sarah's birthday a few weeks ago. Ben was there. Jojo had already come here, and we were there for Sarah's birthday with her best friend. And the best friend always has amazing gifts, and so I was already feeling a little embarrassed about my gift. And then I gave it to Sarah, and she was really thankful for it. She said, "Oh, this is so special, Dad, but you gave this to me last year." So not the exact same gift, but the same idea. So a picture book of memories. So that may be your response when we turn here to Luke 15. But let's read this together and then just share a few thoughts on hope that I see this provides for us. Beginning in verse 11, this is a story that Jesus tells. A certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of him said to his father, "Father, give me the portion of the goods." Correct, yeah. My mistake if I said 13. Luke 15, beginning in verse 11. And then I'll take this point as well to say that if I say anything else that sounds off during the rest of the meeting, you can just fill it in with whatever you think would be best at that point. Luke 15, verse 11. A certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the portion of the goods that belong to me." So the father divided them among them. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, journeyed to a far country, and there wasted his possessions with prodigal living. But when he had spent all, there arose a severe famine in that land, and he began to be in want. Then he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the fields to feed the pigs. And he would gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the swine ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants." And so with that speech in mind, that apology, he goes back to his father. Verse 20, he arose and came to his father. And when he was still a great way off, his father saw him. And I'm adding in parentheses here, even before hearing anything he had to say. and knowing why he'd come back. He saw him, had compassion, and ran and fell on him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet. And bring the fattened calf here and kill it. Let us eat and be merry. For this son of mine was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. That's a picture of the heart of the Father when a lost son returns. Now the older son, verse 25, was in the field, and he came and drew near to the house. He heard music and dancing. He's been out working, laboring, and it comes to hear about this celebration. He called one of the servants and asked him what these things meant. And the servant said to him, Your brother has come back, and your father has received him safe and sound, and killed the fattened calf. And the older brother was angry and would not go in. And we get to see the father now for a son who refuses to go in, refuses to come to him. Father came out and pleaded with him. And the son answered and said to his father, Look, these many years I've been serving you. I have never transgressed your commandment at any time. And yet you never gave me even a young goat that I might be happy with my friends. But as soon as this son of yours, who has devoured your livelihood with harlots, returns, you kill the fattened calf for him. And he said to him, Son, you are always with me, and all I have is yours. It was right that we should make merry and be glad. For your brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found. So there's hope today for those of us that, as we read this story, as we come here together this morning, are like the younger son, see ourselves as the younger son. There's hope for those of us that see ourselves as the older son. For me, a lot of times, when I hear difficult news, when I hear sad news, it brings up memories of things that have happened in the past, or it reminds me of something that's currently taking place in my life. Anytime Bona and I are involved in counseling another couple, it brings to surface in my own mind, and then sometimes becomes a part of a conversation, issues within our own marriage, challenges that we've faced. It happened just a few weeks ago when we were meeting with a couple before they got married, and before I did the first wedding that I've had the chance to be involved in. And I remember thinking, as we met with them, and how this one of them was just very open and honest about everything that had gone on the last few years and how that was impacting each of them. And I thought to myself, wow, this couple's going in a lot more eyes wide open into marriage than we did. No one can go in completely eyes wide open. Last night we were together with Nate and Shauna and Jay and Amy, and Bona was mentioning the difficult years that we had in Kosovo, and memories flashed through my mind of times where we were alone, it was cold, and I responded to Bona's need for help, not with compassion and care, but with glares, often with sarcasm. And perhaps for you today or later on as you reflect about where you are at right now, you'll be reminded of things in your own life, things that are present or things in the past. For years, I kept secret harm that I did to others and that others had done to me in 6th and 7th and 8th grade. And it was the kind of thing that when I thought about it, would just eat away at me. And maybe there's things like that in your life that you wish you could just forget, that you are ashamed of. Maybe your attitude towards God right now is, man, all I can expect from you is just to be given the bare minimum. I'm sorry for what I've done. I don't deserve a thing from you. And we have hope in this passage because the response from the Father, the story that Jesus tells to reveal God's heart, is that he responds when we come to him with lavish, generous, celebratory forgiveness. It's not forgiveness because he has to. It's not grudging. It's not saying the words and with a face that shows the exact opposite, but the Father is pictured here doing everything possible to show that he celebrates this son of his. So this is part of the hope that God offers us today. I don't treat you the way you deserve. I delight in you. I celebrate your return. Others of us at this point, and maybe when you look at the 3 words, this is more where you're at. Others of us respond often to life by pointing the finger, by saying, I deserve better. Why can't you treat me this way? How could this other person get it so good? I remember one author that I like to read describing people as tending towards self-contempt, so contempt for self or contempt for others. And I definitely tend more towards contempt for others, to the point that actually I think it was the day after I read this, I remember I was outside and I tripped on some uneven ground out there, and my immediate response was to start yelling in my mind, I can't believe somebody made this ground so uneven. And then I realized, wow, I tend very strongly towards contempt for others, towards thinking I deserve better. And God offers hope for those of us that respond like that older son as well. He invites us to know him in a different way, not as a father who's sitting there keeping score, but as a father with a good heart, a generous heart, who longs for us to experience him. The hope, this hope and this reality for many of us comes at a cost. It starts by being honest and saying, yes, I'm like this older son, but we don't see the end of this story, this part of the story. And for many of us, this is a long, slow, often painful process of really learning to know God as he really is, as a generous, loving, lavish, tender Father. I remember when Bona and I were in counseling a few years ago, and the woman saying to Bona, it's like you've come up against a wall, and the person that you've been for so long, the person that you've known, person that you're pretending to be now is not who you want to be anymore. You've realized that. You've come up against this wall because to move forward and to become the person that you're created to be is something that you haven't known before. And it's scary. I can imagine for that son, it would be scary, just completely shattering of everything he'd known after laboring day after day after day, misunderstanding the character of his father all along, and thinking that he was working to get what he deserved, to leave all that and to step into a celebration for someone that hadn't done a thing to deserve it. And that's God's offer for those of us that are like the older son. So there's hope for us today, hope for us that are like the older son, hope for us that are like the younger son. There's hope for us that feel overwhelmed and crushed by the burdens of life, by confusion. There's hope for those of us, for you, if you're bitter and angry this morning. There's hope if you are running from God right now and haven't yet reached that point where you say, hey, I want to go back. And as we close, I want to invite you to take a look at the 3 words you put down and to ask God some questions about where you're at. You can write down your response. You can sit there and pray silently, or you can just think about it. So first, God, what is happening in my heart right now? God, what do you want me to know today? We've read from the Word. I've shared a few brief thoughts. And God speaks His Word to all of us. And then there are times where we realize, hey, this is something that God really wants me to hear today. He really wants me to know. He really wants me to be assured of. I remember that same time that I mentioned earlier for Bona and I, this special woman praying for us. And she said in her prayer at one point, God, you are on the move. Referencing that part from the Chronicles of Narnia where it says Aslan is on the move. And at that point, to be honest, I didn't really see it. Didn't know what she was talking about. And we were at least showing up, saying, hey, we need help. We're ready to, we want to grow. And so I want to pray for all of us that are here. And I want to pray that you would see that God is on the move, that you would experience a taste of the hope that He provides for us, the unique hope in your life, in your situation. And I'll pray. We'll close our time here. I invite you again later today to think, hey, what would be good for me at this time? What do I need? What would be a way that I can meet and encounter God in this moment? Let's pray together. Father, I thank you that there is hope during the darkest hours in each of our lives. We think about how it got dark while you were there on the cross, Jesus. And we're reminded that in the moment that you were dying, that you were in the process of bringing hope to all of us. And we long to experience that today. Thank you that you are right here with us, even though we don't see you and can't touch you. And we long to experience your love, God. I pray, God, for honesty for all of us, for us to be open and real, raw with you about where we're at. And to experience you, your power, change our hearts. I think where it says, where sin abounds, grace abounds more. That the reason you appeared, the reason the Son of God appeared, was to destroy the works of the devil. That the devil comes to steal and to kill and destroy, but you have come to bring abundant, full life. May I enter more into that today. God, may each of us enter more into that today. And we give you thanks for these moments where we can reflect on your love, your offer of hope for us. In your name we pray. Amen.